I used to believe that people who complained about small things were just weak. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought it. And then, one morning, I became one of them. Before we begin, please support MindShift Stories by subscribing, liking the video, and leaving a comment. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful stories with the world. I worked in a mid-sized marketing office in Chicago. Nothing dramatic. Great carpet, open desks, coffee machine that made everything taste the same. My life felt stable, predictable, controlled. I liked it that way. I was the reliable one. If someone missed a deadline, I picked it up. If a coworker looked stressed, I assumed they just needed better time management. If someone called in sick too often, I quietly questioned their work ethic. In my head, I had a simple belief. Life is hard for everyone. You deal with it. You don't make it other people's problem. I remember thinking that compassion was important, in theory, but I also believed that most people exaggerated their struggles. Maybe it was my upbringing. Maybe it was pride. I don't know. What I do know is that I was quick to judge, especially one person. Her name was Melissa. She sat across from me, soft-spoken, often late by 10 or 15 minutes, sometimes distracted in meetings, occasionally emotional over feedback. I interpreted all of it the same way, unprofessional. I never confronted her, I just formed quiet conclusions. She needs to toughen up. That was my internal narrative, and I felt justified in it. The first sign that something was shifting in my own life felt small. It started as a dull ache in my lower back. I assumed it was posture, too much sitting. I bought a better chair, started stretching, ignored it. But the ache didn't fade, it sharpened. Within a few weeks, I was waking up stiff. Getting out of bed felt like lifting something heavy off my spine. I remember one morning standing in my kitchen, holding the counter, waiting for the pain to settle before I could pour coffee. It annoyed me more than it scared me. I told myself, it's nothing, don't be dramatic. At work, I didn't mention it, but it became harder to sit through long meetings. I shifted constantly in my chair. I struggled to focus. I caught myself zoning out when clients spoke. And for the first time, I noticed something uncomfortable. My performance was slipping. Not drastically, just subtly. A missed detail here, a slower turnaround there. And I felt ashamed of it, because in my mind, pain wasn't an excuse. One afternoon, we had a team presentation. I had barely slept the night before because every time I turned in bed, the pain shot down my leg. During the meeting, halfway through explaining campaign metrics, my voice tightened, not emotionally, physically. My back spasmed so sharply that I lost my train of thought. There was a pause, a long one. I saw confusion on my manager's face. I forced a smile. Sorry, lost my place. I finished the presentation, but I could feel sweat building under my collar. My focus wasn't on the slides, it was on surviving the next 10 minutes. Afterward, as everyone packed up, Melissa quietly said, "Are you okay?" I almost laughed. Of course I wasn't okay, but admitting that felt like weakness. "I'm fine," I said quickly. She nodded, but her eyes lingered for a second, like she didn't fully believe me. And that unsettled me, because for the first time, I wondered if that's how I looked when she struggled in meetings. The diagnosis came a week later, a herniated disc. Not life-threatening, not dramatic, but persistent. The doctor explained it calmly. Inflammation, nerve pressure, slow recovery. Pain management, and patience. Patience. I didn't like that word. Recovery wasn't instant. Some days were manageable, others weren't. Sitting hurt, standing too long hurt, driving hurt, sleeping hurt. The worst part wasn't the physical discomfort, it was the unpredictability. I couldn't control when the pain would spike. I couldn't plan around it. And I hated feeling unreliable. At work, I started arriving late sometimes. Not because I wanted to, but because putting on socks could take 10 minutes if my back locked up. I became quieter in meetings. Not disengaged, just exhausted from constantly managing discomfort. And something shifted in my perception. Every time I struggled to focus, I remembered the silent judgments I used to make about Melissa. The irony wasn't lost on me. The turning point came on a Tuesday afternoon. Melissa was presenting a campaign draft. Midway through, her voice cracked slightly. She paused, took a breath. I felt the old reflex rising in me, that quiet impatience. But this time, something interrupted it. I noticed her hand gripping the edge of the table. Tight, subtle, controlled. I recognized that grip. I'd been doing it myself whenever pain flared. And in that moment, a simple thought landed in my head. What if I have no idea what she's carrying? After the meeting, instead of packing up quickly like usual, I stayed behind. "Hey," I said casually, "how have you been lately?" She hesitated, like the question surprised her. Then she shrugged. "My mom's chemo started last month." The words were calm, almost neutral, but they hit me harder than any diagnosis I'd received. Chemo. Hospital visits before work, late-night worry, financial stress, fear she probably didn't talk about. Suddenly, all the small behaviors I judged rearranged themselves into a different picture. Late arrivals, distracted meetings, emotional reactions. Not weakness, weight. Invisible weight. And I had completely missed it. Worse, I had misinterpreted it. That night, lying in bed, unable to find a comfortable position, I replayed every assumption I'd made about people over the years. The coworker who called in sick frequently, the friend who canceled plans last minute, the stranger who snapped at a cashier. I always filled in the blanks with character judgments. Lazy, overly sensitive, rude, dramatic. It felt efficient. My brain liked clean explanations. But pain, my pain, had complicated that simplicity. Because from the outside, I still looked functional. I still showed up, still answered emails, still smiled when necessary. No one could see the nerve firing down my leg. No one could see the frustration of feeling trapped in my own body. And if they judged me during a slow moment, they would be wrong, just like I was. The consequences of that realization weren't dramatic. I didn't transform overnight into some endlessly patient person, but I started pausing. When someone reacted sharply, I paused. When a coworker seemed off, I paused. When my mind rushed to label someone's behavior, I caught it. Maybe there's context I don't see. Maybe there's a pain I can't measure. At work, I began offering help differently, and not in a controlling way, just small things. Want me to take this part of the report? Need a few extra minutes. I didn't announce my new perspective, I just adjusted quietly. And something interesting happened. People softened around me. Conversations felt less guarded. Melissa started sharing small updates about her mom. Not dramatic stories, just honest moments. And I noticed something else. Compassion didn't weaken standards, it clarified them. I still believed in responsibility, I still valued discipline, but I realized those values didn't require harsh assumptions. Human behavior is rarely about what we see on the surface. It's shaped by fear, fatigue, grief, insecurity, physical pain, private battles. Psychology isn't abstract, it's daily life. Months later, my back slowly improved. Physical therapy helped. The flare-ups became less intense. But I sometimes wonder if healing physically was easier than healing my perception. Because once you see how limited your assumptions are, you can't unsee it. there's a quiet discomfort in recognizing how confidently wrong you've been. I used to think resilience meant pushing through without acknowledging discomfort. Now I think real resilience includes understanding that everyone is pushing through something. You just might not see it. And sometimes I ask myself a quiet question before reacting to anyone. If I knew their full story, would I respond differently? Most of the time, the answer is yes. And that pause, that single moment of reconsideration, might be the most important decision I make all day.